It's time for us all to talk more openly about domestic abuse. In England and Wales, 1 in 4 women will experience abuse in their lifetime, and on average, 1 woman is killed by an abusive partner or ex-partner every 5 days.
These hydrangeas all came from my daughter. So I have lots of memories of her up here. She just was perfect. Most mothers would say that about their daughters, but she really was.
Jo was beautiful, kind, but most of all, she was the most incredible mother.
Everybody loved Jo, except her husband.
Joanna Simpson
was killed by her estranged husband,
Robert Brown.
Robert Brown was cleared of murder, having admitted manslaughter.
He was jailed for a total of 26 years.
It was horrendous, horrendous. And my main concern was for the children, because they've got all their lives ahead of them.
At 71 years of age, Diana had to become a parent again to Jo's 2 young children, Katie and Alex.
The children coming to live with me was my salvation. I think I was their salvation too, so we managed together. And we spoke about Mummy all the time.
Jo's closest friends and family came together to support each other, and an idea started to form.
We were tired, we were beaten, and it just seemed right to then pivot to something that was much more positive and can live in the spirit of Jo.
The Joanna Simpson Foundation has raised hundreds of thousands of pounds to help support children who have experienced domestic abuse.
Children are the forgotten victims of domestic abuse. And what Hetti and Diana have done with their foundation has given these children the support they so desperately need. What's truly remarkable is they've done that in the shadow of their own grief and loss.
Last year, Diana and Hetti successfully campaigned to keep Jo's killer behind bars when he was due to be released after serving just half of his 26-year sentence.
We had to get justice for Jo.
In honour of their work, today Diana and Hetti have been invited to Clarence House, official residence of Her Majesty the Queen. They believe they're here to meet representatives of Her Majesty, who is a long-term supporter of domestic abuse charities.
I could sit in this room for hours, couldn't you?
It's very comfy.
Yeah.
Little do they know, the Queen herself wants to deliver some very special news.
Hello.
Oh, Your Majesty.
So sorry to interrupt you.
Very well, thank you.
Please sit down again.
Thank you so much.
I thought, as I was here, I'd drop in and see you.
Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you.
We've got a little surprise for you.
Oh,
It's
God.
coming in right now. This is to you, Diana and Hetti, for all you've done for violence against women and all the wonderful work.
It's just amazing.
I'm afraid we did slightly double-cross you by bringing you here
Oh,
today.
how amazing.
I was setting
Can
this
I
all
open
up.
it?
You better open it.
Diana and Hetti, you have won a Pride of Britain award. Oh, good. How did we do that? How did we do that? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Well, that's for you.
I just never imagined anything like this. Never, ever.
Brilliant. Well,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Nobody deserves it more than you two.
That's so good. Yes, Jo at least brought Hetti and I together.
She did, exactly.
I dedicate this to the memory of Jo. She would be just amazed.
Please welcome Hetti Barkworth-Nanton and Diana Parks.
I feel very humble standing here after what we've just heard tonight. It's been amazing.
Oh, you're amazing.
No, not
You're
at all.
both amazing. Before we talk some more, I can see how much the film has affected you. Tell us about your beautiful daughter, Jo.
Well, like every mother would say, she was perfect.
Yes.
And just wonderful, wasn't she?
She was. She was wonderful. She was funny. She was slightly flirtatious. She was brilliant at doing a party. She could have pulled this one off like nobody's business.
We're doing it for her.
And she was an amazing mother. She was genuinely the mother that put all the rest of us mothers to shame. Whenever anything happened at school and the children had to go with buns and cakes or dressed like a book, her children always looked the best.
An extraordinary mother. And then, as we have said, at the age of 71, you had to take the parental responsibilities. They're a lot older now,
Yes.
both of them. How proud of them are you?
Well, I'm just incredibly proud of them. They've both been to university. They've both got jobs.
Yeah.
In fact, Katie's starting with ITV next Monday.
Nothing to do with Pride of Britain Awards.
No, and she didn't say anything about what had happened to her or anything. She did it all on her own merit, yes.
Wonderful. Now, we saw Queen Camilla giving you the award, and all of us now know that she's a great supporter of charities which are involved with domestic violence and the victims of domestic violence. It was actually you who convinced her to join up with this cause.
Well, I don't really know why, but we met with Hetti at a Safe Lives meeting in 2016, 14?
Yeah,
16. And you may have seen photographs of her weeping as 6 families told their really tragic stories of what had happened to their relatives. And the Queen seemed incredibly moved. And then afterwards I spoke to her. And in fact, we had quite a lot in common. And we were then invited to a reception at Clarence's house. And she came up to me and she went, "You are the person that made me want to do this." And I was bowled over, absolutely bowled over.
I think you did. Hetti, can I talk to you? The man who killed Jo was up for release last year. What did the two of you, have to go through in order to stop that from happening?
Well, huge amount. So basically, he was entitled to be let out. Lots of people said, don't worry, he'll go to the parole board, he'll never be let out, because we were being told he was dangerous. But that wasn't the sentence he got. The sentence he got meant that he would be automatically let out regardless of the danger to the public. So we said, that's just bonkers. So I spoke to a barrister friend of mine, and I spoke to Sir Robert Buckland, who happened to be my MP. He kind of drew the short straw. And I said, what about this new law? Surely we can use this, because this new law said if someone is proved to be a danger to the public, then they don't have to be let out if they've got this sort of sentence. And both of them said, sorry, that's not meant for these circumstances. So we had a chat, didn't we?
We did.
And we said, well, we can either just accept that, or we can campaign and make a lot of noise and hopefully get something done. So we did campaign, didn't we?
We did.
We made a hell of a lot of noise.
We had a meeting at Westminster Chapel, and we had the wonderful Jess Phillips there, who... and Sir Robert Buckland, Priti Patel, and Carrie Simmons.
And Jess said, I get really pissed off with people sometimes, but it doesn't make me... I can get angry with people sometimes, but I don't get a claw hammer and hit them over the head 14 times. I can't do your accent, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And that's what changed it.
I think really we advanced from that. I was very kindly asked to go on Good Morning Britain several times, and I would say, who is going to look after this man for 13 years when he's released on licence from prison? He's dangerous. The probation service, dare I say, here is broken, and he's a danger to us all. We all live in fear of him because he's a psycho. And so somehow we got going, and we went to see Dominic Raab first, and then, of course, he went, and then we saw... we started all over again with Alex Chalk, and Alex Chalk just seemed to understand our problem.
And in the end, on I think the 12th of October last year, I went to see Alex Chalk, and you and the children and James were on the other end of the line, and we were told not only had they made the decision to stop his automatic release, but he said that the prisoner had been informed an hour earlier, and that's what made it really, really real.
It is absolutely amazing.
But nobody should have to go through that.
No, but could I just add something which is really important that people should know? That he was obviously absolutely fed up, dare I say pissed off, that he wasn't going to be released. He'd done no rehabilitation work in prison. He hadn't spoken to psychologists, psychiatrists, because he had a determinate sentence, and he thought he was coming out automatically after 13 years without going through a parole board. And of course, he hadn't sort of bargained on Hetti and I working our butts off. And he went for a JR, judicial review, and that was held for 2 days. And he was found to be more at risk to the public after that judicial review than when he'd gone into prison.
Gosh. And this man will come on, I hope, and talk a little bit about broader domestic abuse, but this man proved himself to be the narcissist that he is in prison. So in 13 years in prison, he had not once shown a single bit of remorse for what had been done. In fact, he didn't really see himself as having done anything wrong. Instead, he had spent 13 years victim blaming, so blaming Jo for the fact that she was dead and the fact that he was in prison, and spending those 13 years showing grievance towards Jo's family and friends.
Yes, he said to Jo when he took a knife to her in 2007 that he hated her family for the 8 years they were married.
Now, you set up, the two of you, the Joanna Simpson Foundation.
Yes.
And this is not so much about the women and the victims, the direct victims of domestic abuse, but it is about the children. Just tell me why you have specifically chosen the forgotten children.
Well, there was absolutely nobody doing this when we set it up, and Jo loved children, absolutely loved children. And, of course, Katie and Alex were only 9 and 10 when Jo was killed. And she'd lost both parents. He was in jail and Jo was dead. So, I mean, it was just without any doubt whatsoever that I would have the children, and they wanted to come to me, and that was just great. And they've been my total salvation. They really have, and I think I've been theirs. And they're now, Alex will be 25 on Christmas Eve, and Katie is 23. And they've both been to university, and I'm just so proud of them. But so many children, when they lose both parents, as domestic homicide does, they don't know where they're going. People, can't afford sometimes to take them on. And they're fostered, or you don't know what happens to these children. So we wanted to give these children support and, help and try to make life better for them. And that's what we raised funds to do.
That is wonderful. And what would Jo think of this? all of this?
She should be absolutely amazed. She would be genuinely amazed. She was such a strong woman. She was a fighter right to the end. Both Di and I spoke to her in the hour before she was killed. Yes. And she was it was 1 week away from her final High Court hearing. That's how close she got to the end. But he wasn't prepared to let that happen. But she was still fighting, despite the fact that it was all, it was all quite tense and everything else. But look, we've raised over £500,000. Wow. And we invest in programmes. We don't deliver frontline programmes. We invest in programmes that will be a catalyst for change. And one of those programmes was a programme that we arranged. We funded Anna Freud, psychologist, to go over to Yale University to learn about a groundbreaking treatment supporting carers and their children that have been through significant trauma that had a major substantial difference in the onset of PTSD in these children. And as a result of us funding that, Anna Freud didn't continue the programme in its purest sense, but the principles of that programme have gone on to be applied in the Grenfell fire, in the Manchester arena, and has made a massive difference to children affected in those huge, huge, horrific, traumatic events.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Now, to present your award, obviously Queen Camilla turned up just to tell you that you were going to win one, but to present your award, I know that you two are both big fans of these people because you've told us, and the feeling is definitely mutual because they wanted to offer their congratulations to you. So please welcome two of your favourites, Stephen Mannon and Claire Balding. Oh,
Thank you. We wanted to meet you in person and to be able to say in person how impressed I think everybody is that from an unspeakable, unthinkable tragedy, you have created a lasting legacy for Joe that is positive, that has a really important impact on children who really need that help, and it is just unbelievably impressive that you have done that.
Yeah, I'm in awe of both of you. To have the strength of character and the generosity of spirit to take that righteous anger and to turn it to such good and positive and helpful effect is so admirable. And on behalf of Joe and Katie and Alex, I'd like to present you with these Pride of Britain Awards.
Claire and Stephen, and of course, congratulations once again to our winners, Hetti Barkworth-Nanton and Diana Parks.